Thanks, Karina. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Thanks, everyone. Yes, I've transformed. I'm now the Director of Wired in Software, for this presentation at least. So I want to start with our giants are female, and Ashwini chose today's subject. It's Sudha Murthy. Sudha Murthy is an Indian engineer, educator, author, and philanthropist. She became the first female engineer hired at India's largest auto manufacturer, Tata Engineering and Locomotive Company. She's won been awarded. She's won a number of awards in the past few years, and does a lot of charity work. She's also the Prime Minister. Sorry, the current Prime Minister's. I'll say that again. She is the mother-in-law of the current British Prime Minister. So yeah, very inspirational. Today, the presenters were meant to be Ashwini, who is listening in. Say hello, Ashwini.
Hi.
Ashwini is one of our LabVIEW developers at Wired in Software, and she prepared this whole presentation. I am just here to speak it. And we only realised that we could do this so easily. If I'd known that this was going to be easy, I would have practiced it with Ashwini the last few days. But you can just enjoy the show, Ashwini, and tell me where I went wrong after. So Ashwini is the creator of a tool that we are starting to use at Wired in Software, and it's called the Code Quality Check Tool, for want of a better name. And I'm Chris. I'm the founder of Wired in Software. You already know I'm president of GDevCon, and I've been awarded LabVIEW Champion in 2021, which is a great honour, but very humbling because being in the room with other LabVIEW champions is unbelievable. And just being even in that group is, yeah, amazing. So, code quality. What is it? What does it mean? I was talking to Nancy yesterday. I think you were talking to someone else, Nancy, and I was listening in. And you said something, Nancy, and I'm probably going to butcher what you said. So sorry if I say it wrong. But I thought it was quite profound. And she said, I can review a LabVIEW application in 90 seconds. I got it right? Awesome.
High-level review.
High-level review.
As compared to
right.
reviewing base code.
That's right. So if you're reviewing Python versus reviewing LabVIEW, you can spot so much, just due to the visual nature of LabVIEW, right? The way the code's laid out. You can get an insight into the engineer's thought process when you look at someone else's code, someone's VI. How they're using the block diagram features, the layout of front panel objects, VI descriptions, comments, labels, just their style in general. So LabVIEW, I think, is a great development environment for expressing yourself. I think you also went on to say that you could spot different code styles depending on which part of the country in the United States they were from. And one of my colleagues yelled out LabVIEW accents. So I thought that was cool. Yeah, Texas VIs are big. Yeah. Sponsored by Buc-ee's. No. But there can be a messy side if you leave LabVIEW code unchecked. I'm sure we've all seen it, and I'm as guilty as anyone when you're rushing code out the door. And you may not leave LabVIEW code in the best state. So luckily there's a bunch of tools to help us set the standard and get to a certain level of good quality LabVIEW code. And we've already heard a little bit about some of this stuff today. For instance, what we just saw from Chris, making sure you are setting, you're optimizing your code. And things people have mentioned, VI description, there's been mentions of Darren Nanninger's tools, so we're going to talk a few more about that. So this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about some of the tools that are already built into LabVIEW that help you make sure your code is of high quality. And then I'm going to show you a tool that we're creating in-house that Ashwini's created to bring all that together in a more automated way. So what are these tools? So out of the box, and this is just a snapshot. It's not an exhaustive list. You've got VI Analyzer, Bookmark Manager. They're built-in tools for LabVIEW. Antidoc and Natify are just open source or community-based tools. The DQMH Validation tool, part of DQMH. Tools to help you easily document your VI descriptions. I think Liam was talking about making sure that you have all your VI descriptions filled in. Or was it Nick? It could have been both. So we've got a little tool to do that. Code review pre-checklists, and then unit tests, which is a whole nother category. We're not going to go into unit tests today, but there's some good stuff there. I'm going to start, I'll just give you a bit of an intro into some of these tools. So I've heard VI Analyzer being mentioned today. What is VI Analyzer? VI Analyzer is a tool built into LabVIEW, and it's a static VI analysis tool that comes with your LabVIEW Professional. It's going to catch a lot of silly mistakes, and it's also going to make sure that you're coding to a certain style. It's quite customizable, and you can tailor it to your organization and what you deem is important. There's hundreds of tests in VI Analyzer. In fact, if you pay attention to every single one, you will spend more time ticking all those boxes than you did writing the code. So you've got to be a bit selective and hone in on the ones that matter most to you. It helps you improve your code by detecting where your code does not match your style. There's a community for it. You can jump online and Google VI Analyzer enthusiasts. There's also a bunch of custom tests. So you can create your own tests to be run by VI Analyzer to analyze your code. There might be specific things you're looking for that's not out of the generic package, and you can incorporate that into your suite. So there are custom ones you can download off a website on the NI forums. So I'm going to just play a video and just demo this. So to open this up, you go to the tools menu and go VI Analyzer. Is this going to work? Yeah, cool. So you can load up VI Analyzer in a number of ways. In this particular example, we're opening up a pre-configured configuration file for VI Analyzer. So we're selecting this option here, which is load a previously saved analysis configuration file. So at Wired Software, we have a VI Analyzer config file, default config file, and we start from there for every project, okay? And we apply that, we tailor that to each project, but we've got a default file that we start with. That default file has all the tests that we think are important and turning off the ones we don't think are important, and then tailoring each test to what's important to us. So we've got our own default one, and we're going to load that up first. So when you load it in, it opens up the project and shows all the project items. Okay, and you can actually exclude big chunks of code or single VIs as required if you don't want to analyze every single VI. The reason we would do this, we develop using DQMH, which has a whole lot of auto-generated code every time you generate a module. We don't want to validate every single VI that's auto-generated every single time for every DQMH module, because we know that code's good. And it'll just keep, and it's also code we can't change. So once we've selected all our functions, where's my mouse gone? I'm just going to pause for a second. Once we've selected all those functions that we want to analyze, we then go to the next step, and now we're going through and looking at all the different tests that are available. You've got about 8 or 9 categories and then a whole heap of subcategories, and you can see some are selected and some aren't. So it's just down to personal preference. And when you select on a particular one, it'll show you the parameters in here, in this panel, and you can tune that even further. Sorry about that. Okay. So when we've selected all the tests we want, it then shows us both the items we're going to analyze and the tests. We save that off to a new VI Analyzer config file, and then we run it. So it's now running the VI Analyzer, and it's churning through all the VIs we've selected and all the tests. And when it's finished, it's going to bring up a results window with a list of all the different tests and where it found all the issues. So you double click on one, it'll open it up straight to that point in the code, and you can go and address it there and then. And it will also generate a report file, which you can save off as a report, as evidence that you ran that. It also ranks the higher priority tests up high and the lower ones down the bottom, and you can choose what's high and what's low to you. So if you've not used this tool before, it's worth looking at, but be aware that if you use it fully out of the box with all options turned on, it will show you so many things and you'll get bamboozled by it. So definitely worth using in a controlled way. So that's the VI Analyzer. That's a tool built into LabVIEW. Another one is DQMH Validation. So Liam mentioned DQMH before. Wide Software, we're a DQMH trusted advisor, which means we do DQMH a lot. I just wanted to get a show of hands. How many people here have heard of DQMH? All right, keep your hands up if you've actually used DQMH in a project. And now I want Wide Software to remove their hands. All right, we've got about 3 or 4 people. Or I should have said who and any people have worked for me before. DQMH, this is just a side step real quick. DQMH is a free LabVIEW framework. It offers automatic scripting code, built-in API testers, clonable modules, asynchronous development, mature tool chain, and it's a great way to establish an organized way of structuring your code. It's our way, like Liam was talking before about having the producer consumer, exactly the same for us. In fact, it's not very different to what Liam was saying. It's our way, and it means that across our organization, everyone can jump into a LabVIEW project and see what's going on. I digress. What's that got to do with validation and quality? Well, one of the tools is DQMH Validation. DQMH Validation is a tool that you can run to analyze your DQMH module, and it will run through hundreds of tests like the VI Analyzer, but very specific to DQMH, and will find things wrong. The best time it's most effective is if you've just gone from one version of DQMH to the next. It will go and tell you all the new things that are now added to DQMH, the new version of DQMH, and add those in. So it looks like this when you run it. The awesome thing about DQMH Validation that VI Analyzer doesn't have is that it will tell you what's wrong, and then it has a fix button. So it's got automated scripting code that'll actually go and fix that problem. For 90% of the issues, there's a few that it can't do, but then it'll give very detailed manual explanation of what you got to do to fix it. I'm going to quickly run a demo of that. So here's a DQMH project. We've got 2 DQMH modules. They're just set up as LabVIEW libraries. And we're going to run the DQMH consortium tools, validate DQMH module. And it gives us a little dialogue. We can analyze one module or we can analyze all of them. All right. And it starts running and analyzing all of the DQMH modules for a whole lot of tests. And when it completes, it will show, is that me making that sound? It'll show us a list of all the issues it's found. So now this is a quick version. If you've got a 20 module project, it will take some time. Give it 5 or 6 minutes. It's got a lot of analysis to do. You've got 3 issues here. It tells you about each one, what it means, and a fix button. As soon as you hit that fix button, that's resolved. If you rescan, it won't show that one up. So it's gone and fixed that. It's gone and edited your code and fixed that.
Sorry, the text on the screen is a bit long. Could you give an example of a specific kind of problem that it will find?
Yeah. I can't think of one off the top of my head. So there was, between one version and the next, they changed the way they were starting modules. So it would say you've got, this is going back a couple of years, it went from the VI server approach to a different approach. So it was addressing that. Another example might be that it found you're using request and wait for replies, and it's telling you that you've got the old style of request and wait for reply, which allows you to disable the reply. So it lets you know about that. That is one issue you cannot automatically fix. Any others? Kim, you got one? Event registration, if there's an issue with that. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but hope that gives you some idea. So
problems in the code that it generated. Like, is it only code that it already knows about?
Yeah, it's not going to go and analyze your business logic. It's going to analyze the structure of DQMH. DQMH, when it creates a module, it generates a producer consumer with a queued message handler type main VI with a whole lot of VIs, and it will go and analyze and make sure all the things that DQMH knows about are there. Yeah. It won't go, oh, you shouldn't be sending that message. You should be sending an extra character. It's not going to work that out. It's just purely DQMH architecture stuff. Another one is Antidoc. Who's here has heard of Antidoc? All right, there's a few people. So are you using it? Yeah, sometimes. Antidoc, created by Woverlab, logo's hidden. Olivier Jordan in France is also DQMH trusted advisor. He created a tool. He hates writing documents. We all do, I'm sure, because we're engineers, right? So we're coders. And so he created an open source tool that analyzes your LabVIEW project and produces a document saying what your code is doing. It was geared around DQMH, but he's now broadening that to class-based code or non-DQMH code. So it's worth checking out. It's open source. He's got a Patreon page. Go and check it out and back it if you like it. It's a really powerful tool. So it spits out an ASCII doc file, right? And which is actually just text, but you can throw a parser over it, and make it context rich. It doesn't really show up, doesn't justify the screen here, but it produces a file that's looking like a PDF. But it draws pictures of your code. So DQMH, you got all these modules and talking to each other. It'll draw a picture and show you, here's all the modules and they're talking to this one and that one's talking to this one. And you can get a sense of the relationship. You kind of get a high level view of what's happening. So it's really cool. I'm going to skip the demo for that one because I'm going to run out of time, but it also, actually I can just track it a little bit. I want to show the produced format. So here is what it's produced. So you've got, it creates a table of contents. It documents all your DQMH modules, documents the libraries that are not DQMH modules. It documents every class. So it'll go in and it'll draw UML diagrams to capture that and the functions. And then also it documents each function that's part of that class, or at least the API of that class, captures errors and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Is that visible? So it's pretty neat. And the great thing about this tool is your code is the source of truth. You know, instead of writing your document and then writing your code, and then the document kind of gets behind. Well, if you produce this document, it's from the code, then it's at the same level as your code. You know, your code stays the main source of truth here. Another one is Bookmark Manager. Most of us are probably using Bookmark Manager here. It's a very simple tool. You put hashtag as the first character in your comment, and then you open up the Bookmark Manager, and it will show you all the bookmarks you've got in your LabVIEW code. And it looks like this. So you search your project, and it'll show you all the bookmarks. So these are all the hashtags that we've got in our project. You double click on one, it'll take you to it. The reason we're talking about this one is, I don't know, if you're like me, you go, I've got to come back to this. I'm going to type in hashtag to do, and I'll come back. And I never do, right? So the Bookmark Manager reminds you to come back and look. But as you'll see in our automated tool in a minute, it's going to actually put it in your face so you don't forget. I'm not going to run that one. Another one is the VI description documenter. There's a number of flavors of this out there in the world. Ours is a pretty rough and ready one, and it's going to continue to grow. But, you know, it's really important to fill in your VI description of every VI you write, because when you're looking at your LabVIEW code and you're mousing over the VIs, you want those VIs to actually tell you like what's going on. And I hate that when I mouse over a VI and it doesn't have any description, because that means you actually have to double click into it to figure out what's going on. Sometimes you have to do that anyway, but if it's got 1 or 2 sentences telling you what it's doing, you can go, oh, that's good, I know what that's doing, I'll move on. So this tool is going to search our project, find all the VIs, and list all the descriptions, and give you the ability to select a VI, change the description, and hit save. Now, you don't have to use this tool. You can go into LabVIEW, double click on the VI, hit Control-I, it'll show up the VI properties, select documentation, start typing it in, then you go, oh, what's this VI doing? Cancel out, open up the block diagram, look at it, go back into Control-I, type it in. Oh, it's so clunky and frustrating. It's so much easier to just list them all, turn a filter on, show VIs without description, work out which ones still need documenting, and one at a time, open them up. If you have to open the VI, open it up. You can still be typing in here and looking at the VI side by side. Really simple. There's probably 10 different flavors of this out there in the world. This is our version of it. I want to expand that to also document your classes, your libraries, your project. If you ever go into a class and go properties, there's a space for you to define what that class does, right? And no one ever fills it in, or the libraries, or the project. So it just really helps with readability, but this tool is going to just help actually make you want to type in your VI descriptions, because it's not such a pain. This is not the overall tool. This is a separate little tool that we've got at White I'm going to skip the demo because I'm worried about time. It all comes together at the end. Okay, another one is Natify. We've talked, Darren Nadiger's been mentioned a couple of times today. Darren Nadiger is a LabVIEW legend, and he's been working at NI, what, 25 years, Nancy?
25 years.
Yeah, and
I will add, Darren loves LabVIEW more than anyone else on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had the pleasure to meet him at NI Week in 2017, and he is so, if you haven't had a chance, go and find his videos on YouTube, or he's got a page on NI forums. Hit me up afterwards, I'll point you to it. And he's got a heap of good content. Like, he is the master. Chris was referring to him before. So much practical knowledge he shares. He's got this tool, and it's called Natify, and it's really simple, and it's not even on VI Package Manager. You just download it from a forum. It's under the Quick Drop enthusiasts, and you can run it from the Quick Drop, so you can go and try this. And all it does is it you point it to a sub VI, and it'll go and automatically using VI scripting, edit all these things. These are little pet hates that he wants to just adjust and make sure they're in a state that he likes. So it turns off auto error handling. It turns off auto grow. I think it turns it off. I don't know if it turns it on, but I think it's off. Changes front panel color to default gray. We love that about LabVIEW. It changes the icon view, moves the error wires behind all the other wires, removes the no error in your default error in terminal. Justifies your subdiagram labels, puts terminal labels on the side, makes them transparent. And these two here are a little bit contentious. Arranges the front panel, so you can do a front panel cleanup, and it arranges the block diagram. Now, those two, you might not want to run every time, right? So people in this community have created an extension of the tool where when you run it, it gives you a selector and you can turn those ones off if you go, I don't want to actually edit the front panel of my main GUI, because imagine what Liam's awesome thing would look like after you ran that. It would just move it all on top of each other. So, so you don't always want to do that. So someone else added a thing where you check, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So we've just talked about a whole lot of tools. These are all tools that are available to you all now. Some of them already in LabVIEW, some of them easy download. But when you're trying to, like, one of the things is at Wired In, we're trying to get everyone to be employ good coding practice and be diligent and make sure our code's working well. And we do these things that I've just talked about. But it's actually quite a lot of effort going through all that manually, right? And you'll do it once or twice, and then you just got to get on with it. You got to get the project out the door. You can't be doing this all the time. So we wanted to try and make a tool that would bring all that together, integrate it a bit more, and make it easier for the user. This is also partly inspired by the concept of continuous integration. Is anyone in this room using continuous integration at the moment? About one or two? It's a topic that's starting to become quite common in the LabVIEW community, but to do continuous integration, you've got to go outside the LabVIEW ecosystem. You've got to use Jenkins or GitLab runners or things that just totally go over my head. I don't know those things. I'm not a software engineer like that. They're beyond LabVIEW. But one of the patterns that I saw whenever I heard people talking about this is, well, what it does when you run continuous integration, it automates the VI analyzer, it automates DQMH validation, it automatically generates your Antidoc, and I'm like, well, I want that bit. One day we'll get to continuous integration, but I want to just do all that automation. So we created our own tool to just do that within the LabVIEW environment, and that's what we're going to have a look at here. So we're going to run the video. So before I start, this is the tool that Ashwini's been working on. We started doing it this year. In fact, we started working on it, and about a week in, I said, right, we'll talk about this at GDevCon. And I'm glad we did, because we probably would have parked it and got on to other projects, but I think this is going to be really useful for us. So it's still fairly fresh and new, this product, but it's just a tool that you can run from LabVIEW Tools, Tools menu, and we've got a configuration page. And what you do is you select your project file path and you lock that in. And if it's not already created, it'll automatically create an ini file, a configuration file for this program, and save it in your project. And then you can see there's some options here for some of the things we've been talking about already, Natify, Antidoc. So here we can configure those tools I've just been talking about. I was talking about Natify, right? Arrange front panel. I've turned off arrange block diagram. I don't want to ever do that. Well, maybe I do, but I'm nervous. I should say here, commit your source code before running Natify, okay? But I really like the idea of arrange front panel, but I always think, oh, but I want I want to do it. I don't want to, you know, I've got all these GUIs. I don't want to do it on all that. So we've got some ignore cases. DQMH always has a main.vi. That's your main VI, and it's usually, for us, it's our front panel, it's our GUI in each module. So we're just going to ignore that when it comes to arrange front panel. Also, there's like a tester VI that comes out of the box with DQMH. We don't want to arrange that front panel. We're also making it go in and check the VI properties, and if the VI property, VI of front panel opened if called, or whatever that property name is, it goes and it'll ignore those ones as well, because that probably means that's a dialog VI that's going to pop up. What it can't detect is if you're using VI server and opening it like that. So that's a future thing. So you can see we're taking Natify, which was a simple, awesome little tool, and we're just going to apply it to our whole project, but with some special cases so it doesn't ruin everything. We can select our VI Analyzer config file here. We've got Antidoc, we've got Bookmark Manager. Now with Bookmarks, with DQMH, we want to ignore DQMH bookmarks. There's always DQMH how-tos. I actually want to ignore those. I want to leave them in the code, but I don't want to have that as part of my thing to tell me where I've got to go and change bookmarks. It's also an auto run button. So the whole point of this tool is when you're first developing your project and you're getting it underway, you want to run this tool manually. You want to interact with all those tools you saw and fix things as you go. But the more mature your project becomes, the more these things will have sorted themselves out. And so the goal becomes more of a check before you build it to release to your customer or something like that, right? So then you can turn on auto run. It'll run everything automatically. It won't go and prompt you. It'll just do an analysis and give you a report. And you can look at that and go, oh, I forgot that file. Okay, I'll go back. But it'll be a lot quicker and less interactive, and something you can do as a pre-build step to, you know, in your LabVIEW build specification, add it as a pre-build step. Am I going for time? I've totally lost track of it. So I'm probably running over. I've asked everyone to be quick, and then I'm running over. So let's run it. So we've set it, we're going to set everything up. We've configured all our details here. And then what you can do is you can set up the list of tests you want to run. You might not want to use DQMH validation because you don't do DQMH, so you don't select that. You hit run, it checks, makes you check all your config, and then away it goes. It comes to the report screen. It's got an execution status. So it'll load up all the tests one by one here and give you the progress. So we're currently running Natify. And this is another thing Ashwini's added to the tool. So it allows you to go and select which VIs you want to run Natify on. You can just either select all, or you can enable the ones you want to run. And when you've selected, we're going to pick 6 or so. You hit done. Get out of the way, people, sorry. And so now it's running Natify. So this is the list of VIs it's going to Natify. You can see it changing the front panel arrangements on the fly here. So it's a little bit slow. It's going to chip through every VI and run it. But you know, once it's done, it'll be quicker. You can see the error ins, no error is being removed. Right, it gets through all those. It's complete, test complete, and we're now going to hit continue. Right, we're intentionally pausing so you can think through that and make sure, yeah, I'm happy with that. Then we're going to do the VI description. We select to only show the ones without description. We can slowly work our way through each VI and type in a description here. And yeah, we type in a description and hit save, and it'll write it into the description field. And then so it hit save. It's got pretext if you wanted to put in your own little copyright or something. So you can see it's filled that in now. That VI is updated with that description. And you just work your way through the sub VIs that you're missing. I'm just going to fast track this a little bit. Doing a couple more, and then when you've done them all, you hit OK. Next one is Bookmark Manager. So in this instance, it didn't find any because we said don't find the DQMH how-tos, so it ignored those and it said no bookmarks. Then we move on to the DQMH validation step. So it's a little bit of a bug here. It's actually running the VI analyzer at the same time. I've got to fix that, but pretend that didn't happen. You can select which DQMH module you're going to analyze and hit OK. And it will give you details about that, but it's going to run the DQMH validation. And just fast forward a little bit. And when it's analysed that, it gives you the issues, and you one at a time can hit the fix issue. And when that's done, we hit close, and that's the DQMH validation steps done. All right. The next one is meant to be VI Analyzer. And so you can see it's completed all these. We're up to VI Analyzer. It's running that now. And the VI Analyzer actually spits out a progress, so you can actually see how that's going. Some of them are just... so here's all our VIs we've analysed and all the issues. You go through, you work through that, you've resolved those issues as you require. Hit done. Now we're up to Antidoc. We hit continue again, and it's now running Antidoc. It uses the Antidoc CLI version, so because back in the config we typed in all the parameters that we wanted to put in there at the beginning, spits out that document, and then we've got this thing called the code review checklist. We use this at White-In to just make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. You select the ones you've done and you hit update, it will save that off, and we're done. Now that was the quick version. If you've got a 20 module, several hundred VI project, it's going to take a bit longer, obviously, but the more you run it, hopefully the less burdensome it becomes. And there you go. That's our DQMH. Sorry, that's our code quality check tool. And as I said, you would run it in auto run mode and it would run silently next time. Just to quickly, behind the scenes, at the end of that, it produces a report. It creates a quality check directory with today's date. Well, not today, but 5th of October in this case on the video. And here's all the report files that it was created. The VI analyzer, the bookmarks, DQMH, all those things spat out a file. So you've got like evidence of that happening should you need it. So it's a record of that happening. Yeah, so there we go. All right, so that's our code quality check tool. Before I go to that, so in summary, many tools available for helping you check your code quality, but they're not necessarily all integrated into one tool. If you're not quite ready for continuous integration, then something like this will sort of be a good stepping stone. And we've barely used this at White-In, so we'll hopefully be starting to roll this out and applying it a lot more and making it even better. So yeah, what we wanted to do is get the advantage of the automation that can be achieved in continuous integration, but putting it in front of the user during their everyday development as a way to learn about their code health and interact and improve it. So as I said, once it gets more mature, you can run it more in auto mode.